I have two thoughts and a story. And the story is not about a Tootsie Roll.
The story's not about what?
A Tootsie Roll. A Tootsie Roll.
Oh. Thanks be to God.
Okay, Pep.
Yeah.
And I could see you feel it too, Curt. Mrs. Smith. Okay, when she said, "Who's Pepper?" I could just feel the fear. Like, oh my gosh,
doubt.
I don't know who's Pepper. Who is Pepper?
Who's Pepper?
I want to know Pepper too. Where is he? I don't know. And then when she was like effusive about people had written about you, I could just feel you stand up taller. The little 10-year-old you, or however old you were.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the wardrobe person. He or she, was it a he or she? Just so
It was a she.
For her to immediately find you. Because like Curt said, if you had taken that with you, like if nobody in that moment, you could still be reached later. You could still be found later.
It was so immediate that she came over in the, like pretending that she had to do something with my wardrobe so that she could whisper in my ear, "We all know what's happening here."
Oh, God bless her.
Yeah.
That's
my
just,
God.
Yeah.
How thoughtful and intentional. Like she just, for her, like you say, for her to find a way that it made sense for her to be talking to you or be close enough to whisper.
Yeah.
Ugh. Gives me chills.
Well, and for her to even to use the words, "We all know what's happening."
Yeah,
here.
not just me.
Not just
I don't
know.
just
We
see
all
this.
know what's happening here.
All the people he just said that to, we all know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay, one of the things, and I'm going to read it from the book, one of because Curt, you said shame often occurs when we are moving in a direction of creative exploration, minding our own business, when an unexpected force of nature enters and brutally throws us off course. And so this story also took place, I think I was like 9. So 9-year-old little me. I was very entrepreneurial. And
you still are.
And yes, it's a blessing and a curse, but I have a new idea every day. So it's sometimes troublesome.
And you just collect those ideas like in your bottom left drawer.
Well, I collect a lot in my bottom left drawer, but look what you did right there. Yes, look what you did right there. Yeah, and that may come up in a
it's
it will definitely come up.
It's going to come up.
Yes.
Well, and the fact, so 9-year-old me, there was a construction site down the street from our house. So I'm like, oh my gosh, look at all those construction workers. And it's so hot outside. I'm gonna sell them sodas and water. So I went out, not today because I have to do all the prep work. So I got my wagon set up, the ice chest. My mom took me to go buy all this stuff. Like, this is going to be such an easy sale because how are they going to say no to a 9-year-old? Like, this is money in the bag, in the bank. So I do all this. The next day I get up. They're working early. I get up. I'm about to roll. I'm on my way out. And I love my mom. God bless my mom. But she said, "Hey, did you brush your teeth?" And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't have time for this. And I said, yes. And I had not. And she said, "Then why is your toothbrush dry?" I'm like, now as an adult, I'm like, that was such a setup. And she said, "There will be no selling sodas today." Yes. And so that was it. We put everything away. I don't even remember what happened the rest of the day. It was all a blur from there.
This is like the parent with coming to the child who has chocolate all over their face, asking them if they've had their hand in the chocolate chip cookie jar.
Right. Right. Yes.
I'm gonna I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing, and I'm gonna make you pay.
Yeah.
For
like, and I didn't see the setup in it, and then in the moment,
that's part of the issue.
You lied, so this is what happens to little girls that lie. You get shut down. So fast forward to, and this is a side note, but when telling these stories, like the connection isn't always made immediately. Like telling stories and then feeling like telling this story previously and then feeling what I feel, it's like, oh my gosh, that hasn't left me. That's still there. So I still seek permission to do creative endeavors. And because permission was not granted to me. It was granted and then it was taken away. So permission is not mine to be given. It can be, but that's not the case now. But it's like,
right. But I mean, like, and every time you ask it, like, you got to make sure your teeth are brushed, right? I mean, like, you got to like have all your ducks in a row.
Boxes are checked. Yeah.
Like, I got to make sure that, like, okay, what are the things that they might ask me about that I need to like make sure,
right?
That have got nothing to do with the sale of the water and the soda.
I mean, it might have impacted my sales because if I had bad breath, then.
I'm thinking if you're 9 talking to a bunch of adult construction workers, they're probably not going to be. They're much more, yeah.
Yeah, they're like, I'll buy whatever you have. Yeah, the answer is yes. But it's hopeful because in the telling of our stories, in somebody else hearing them, we become more familiar with them. Now when the seeking of permission or permission being perceived or otherwise being taken away, it's like, no, the permission is mine, or my people.
Yeah. But and it also though it also speaks to this undercurrent of like you had this joyful entrepreneurial idea of I'm going to go sell some stuff to some and
I was
like
so excited.
I'm right and like you can imagine like you're 9, you're imagining not just like I'm going to sell stuff, but you can imagine that people are like, hey, thank you. So like there's this like you're 9, right? You're not 9 months, so you're already able to anticipate in your mind that people like you're not just going to like earn money. It's not just the joy of I'm selling something. Like there's the joy of like people are going to be grateful. People are going to enjoy this. There's this sense of like connection that's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And therein that's some of it, right? It's this sense of, I mean, shame's capacity to do us harm in some respects is really related to the degree to which it's like really at the extreme opposite end of the direction that you're going. You're not just sitting in neutral, like you're going someplace.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You're going someplace with this anticipated joy.
Mm-hmm.
And it shears this off in a violent fashion.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I'm sitting here thinking like this would be I would think it would be somewhat we would be able to predict to some degree that if there had been no incident and you had gone and done your thing and it maybe have lasted one day, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
You may or may not remember that strongly.
Yeah. No. Right.
That you'd even done that. Like if somebody would come to you and say, hey, do you ever remember having had the experience of selling soda and water to construction workers when you were 9? You may or may not be able to like, maybe not. Maybe like I had, yeah, maybe like, yeah. Like, unless it was something like you did every summer or several, like, but this, you remember.
Yes. In detail. Yes.
Right.
So
just
true.
like I'm sure, Pepper, there were plenty of times when you delivered a line, when you had a scene that you did really, really well, and you're really pleased with, and everybody's pleased, and then you move on, and then you do your next scene, and your next scene, and your next blah 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 blah, and if you're just like, well, can you remember that scene? You're like, not.
Dude, I can't remember like somebody else like find out that I was on some show, and I'm like, I have no recollection of ever being or what that show is, but I can tell you. Right now, I could rattle off probably 4 stories where I was shamed on set.
Oh my gosh!
And I can, yeah. I mean,
so
what do we do with that?
mean, we just talked about it, but like we remember the intensely shameful.
Yeah. Well, as we will talk about, and we talked a fair bit about this. I think when we were in our previous season on 2 seasons ago, when we were looking at the soul of desire, this sense that shame's power rests in its mass effect, right? The total mass that we represent it by a locomotive, right? And we're just like, we got to build a bigger train. I got to build a bigger train to come at this, and that bigger train, as we will talk about, has to do with community. Because what you were, Amy, in our last episode when you were talking about like Tootsie Rolls, like that scene, that memory is a thing that you remember. You play it over and over and over and over again, and so the network of neural interactions is thick. And Pepper, for this story for you, like the network is thick.
Yeah.
And it's difficult for us to overcome that without, okay, now I've got to build a bigger train. Yeah. And because we've had so much practice constructing the shame train.
That's hard to say.
It's pretty big because I've spent a lot of time intentionally, even if non-consciously, I've intentionally built this as I, say to myself, I should have done something different. I should have, whatever. So even when we have an experience in which the wardrobe person finds me immediately, my brain still it's like Velcro. My brain retains the felt sense of which in we might say one of the reasons why we do that is like I'm paying attention to it so that I can work really, really hard to make sure this doesn't happen again. I do it for protective reasons. But I'm doing it in a way that is protective, that is basically me feeling like it's me who has to protect myself. I got to make sure I never make a mistake with lines again. I got to make sure that I always brush my teeth. I got to make sure that I do all the things without recognizing, because we're not aware of this, that my ultimate protection actually does come from the wardrobe assistant. My ultimate protection is going to come from someone co-regulating with me.
Because we're going to miss a line and I'm not going to brush my teeth. Like that's
right.
Yeah. That's going to happen. That's not avoidable.
Right.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. And so, which is why, like, even these conversations that we have, one of the reasons why I look forward to these conversations when we're recording is not just because I enjoy your presence so much, which is just absolutely true, and I mean, at the beginning, middle, and end. It is also because I anticipate that at some point in our time, during the time that we record, whether it's our kind of like the stuff we're doing ahead of time, kind of like our preliminary stuff or whatever, we are going to name some things that is going to represent that shame train that is in my head. And I'm naming it because you two are part of how I'm building a different train. And I think that's, my sense is that's true for each of us. That, that this practice that we're in the middle of, the podcast itself for our listeners, like the work that we're doing in recording, is itself a way for formation to happen for me.
Yeah.
It's good.
It's a good one. It's a good one. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Amy.
Thanks, everyone.
Yep. Love you guys.
Bye.